All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another great episode of the Stoop, where we talk hoops, and more hoops. I'm your guy, TJ. Got my guy, Kev. What's up, Kev P?
How are y'all out there? Pleasure to be here as usual.
All right. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we got a great special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, Brooklyn's very own. He was part of the resurgence in the mid-'90s, bringing back the Redstorm. Went on for some greatness, averaged 7-7 even as a freshman. Then went on to become a great international player from Greece to beyond. And now he's back home doing his own thing with a very special program, which we'll jump in to in a second. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Tyrone Grant. Thank you so much today, Mr. Grant.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, fellas. Thank you.
So without further ado, let's jump into it. So at what age did you fall in love with the sport of basketball?
See, I'm a blow your mind, right? Because once I saw that first question, I usually get it early. I got to tell you, I never fell in love with basketball. I fell in love with what basketball could do for me. I wasn't always a basketball player, man. A lot of my friends that actually know the young Ty to this day laugh about the idea of me actually becoming a professional athlete. Why is because I was so young and out of control growing up in Brooklyn. I'm originally from Barbados. I grew up in Brooklyn, though. And you know, the influence of the neighborhood had me wilding, family and friends doing what they do, getting busy. And I was always slightly intelligent, so I always found a way to make money. And marijuana was my thing. Also gambling. Those were my two best friends up until I had a situation where that I was thrown in juvenile detention for 30 days when my pops left me and let me learn a lesson. And then when I came out, I just didn't like the experience of not taking a shower, you know what I'm saying? Not being around my girl. I was 13, I was young. But, you know, that experience alone kind of shifted my thought pattern. By the way, while all this was going on, I was a really, really good football player. I was a quarterback out here in the city, even though, you know, New York City ain't big on football. There's a bigger city for basketball. But I played football, man. I was on a cover of a couple of magazines when I was young. I was supposed to be the big deal. The reason why I stopped playing football was because I broke so many bones. I broke both of my legs and my arm before I was 15 years old. Wow. This due to football injuries, and I was stubborn in the fact that I thought I was young and I was playing up, but I was stronger than everybody. I felt like I was stronger than everybody, so I never wanted to get down when I got tackled. The evolution into basketball is between 14 and 15. I grew like 4 inches. And one day I was gambling at my high school, well, 15 and 16. I was gambling at my high school, Grady High School in Coney Island. I'm not from Coney Island, though, but Grady High School. And I had won some money from one of the basketball players on the team. And this is my sophomore year of high school. I wasn't a consistent student or nothing. Again, I was getting busy, making paper at, 15, 16 years old. Even had my own crib in Park Slope, Brooklyn. But nonetheless, my high school coach at the time, that I didn't know was a high school coach, who ended up becoming a very important part of my life, saw me playing, and the star player owed me money. And I was going to let him have it. So the star player was like, let's go in the park and play. So as we playing one-on-one, this big black man came out yelling at him. And then he told me, he said, I was watching you play. You go to this school? This is what he asked me. I was like, yeah, I go to Grady. He's like, you know what? I give you your money if you come play with me in this tournament. And that's the beginning of the journey.
So with all that saying, and you said you looked at it as a means to an end, the game of basketball. You wasn't a hooper. So when did you realize at what age that you could really do something with this?
Immediately.
Immediately.
Immediately. We're talking about 15, 16. Immediately, because what attracted me was all the attention that came with it, all the attention and the potential earnings I can make from it, either from school or even playing professionally. But I already understood the dynamics of how I can take advantage of playing sports and, earn a living, earn a very, very good living and a legal living.
Okay. That's what's up. Now, I heard you mention that you had this as you referred to him, a big black guy come out to you and start yelling, and it turned out to be your coach. And he asked you to come play. But did you hone your skills and learn to play well prior to that? Because clearly you were well enough to start beating up on this young man. So did you really hone your skills there, or was that on the hardwood under his tutelage?
No, a combination of both. So I come from a neighborhood that every Sunday morning, and how it used to be. We all played basketball. If you was good enough to play on the big court, that means you was good enough to play. And I went through this process of just playing because my uncles play. My uncle's pretty good in the neighborhood, and I just played. I just hooped. So as I hooped, the competition itself was good. And again, I didn't really care about who I was playing against. The fact that I was somewhat of an athlete, I was like, yo, I got to get better. So then you have this crazy big black man taking me under his wings, who's actually screaming at me and torturing me while teaching me. That combination of all that stuff just turned me into the person, the player I needed to be in high school, going into college. Yet I was still a little bit undisciplined. Wasn't really that disciplined in regards to structure. It was just the fear and the respect of him that kept me on that path in high school. I had a crazy high school career, man. I was in school from 0 period to 9th period, PM school, basketball practice, and then night school because I had to qualify. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really have a life for 2 years, my high school. Sometimes even my girl or somebody will talk about what they did in high school and all that. I went to more high school proms my freshman year and sophomore year than my junior and senior year because I was in school. But I was so wild that I was going to high school proms with, young girls that was like juniors and seniors. Like I was like that dude in the young boy in the neighborhood. So I miss my personal high school experience, but yet I had a high school experience that's like none other you probably go ever hear of.
All right. Well, speaking of high school basketball in New York City in the 90s was chock full of talent, which I'm sure you know. In your graduating year alone, you were competing against guys the likes of Steph Marbury, God Shamgod, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
What do you recall about the talent that you faced in high school?
Okay, so remember, I was living in it. So the effects of it as a competitor, I really didn't grasp it because I went straight to – as soon as I started playing, I went straight to Riverside Church. I went to Riverside Church. I was starting from the first day I got there. First practice, I was starting. And the funny part was that before I even got there, I wasn't even going to go.
How tall was you right now, Ms. Grant, around that time? How tall
was you? I was about 6'4".
6'4"? Okay.
6'4".
I'm
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Because I just took this crazy – I grew some inches randomly. Nonetheless, I wasn't going to go, and my high school, the same big black high school coach came to my house 6 o'clock in the morning and forced me to drive to Harlem and go try out for Riverside Church. Even though they requested me, because I didn't know that, again, he was keeping a lot of this stuff away from me just to keep me, because he knew I was competitive. Yeah. It could have been a dice game. It could have been schoolwork, but I was competitive. And I was just thrown in the fire, you know what I'm saying, with Richard Parker, when Richard Parker was that Richard Parker back then, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And starting on a team with him and then going against Stephon. Well, Stephon, Lincoln High School is across the street from Grady. Mm-hmm. So that craziness was what it was. Shamgar was there. Shamgar, I never lost against Shamgar, so Shamgar was never really an issue like that. You know what I'm saying? And it had all these superstar players. I mean, on my high school team alone, in retrospect, we had 6 Division I players on one high school team, and we may not have 6 Division I players in New York City basketball public school right now. So again, that whole understanding in retrospect. Again, remember, I'm telling you, I was living in it. So I didn't know about. I'm also probably the only basketball player that didn't do any camps. I never went to camp. Wow. I never went to 5-star, and I never went to Nike because I was with Riverside, and we had to go to Nike, and they were so scared of me at that time. I didn't do nothing in the summer, other than play AAU basketball.
Got it.
ABCD. I went to ABCD for probably 3 hours. I left. I went on a trip. We went. Some of the old heads took me with them. It may have been a Cancun. I told you I was out of control when I was young. So it may have been Cancun, or it probably may have been Cancun. I can't remember. But I stayed like 3 hours. I remember I drove. My old head called me, and I got in a taxi and left Jersey and came right back to Brooklyn.
Wow.
Yeah. It was different. Okay. Again, I'm living, as you asking me these questions, I'm living it. So it's not like I knew it's not like I'm going to ABC to get more exposure. Like, it didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't on the streets. I wasn't doing nothing crazy. I was going to school and playing high school basketball. So I didn't understand fortunate for me, I had these people in my life that got me the exposure that I needed.
Right. So let me ask you this in terms of knowing how vast, up top is in New York and the whole lifestyle and everything's going on, but, also still being the mecca of basketball. Did you ever watch games and watch a couple of old heads or even patting yourself after somebody that you might have seen in a park or a rec or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, I seen a lot of dudes. I mean, I played for this Brooklyn team called Nike One with a bunch of super athletic dudes that just smoked and drunk 40s back in the days, right? But
Right.
the talent level was so crazy that a lot of them played, and I used to just like look at them and be like, yo, what the hell? As far as on a professional level, I used to love Derek Coleman. I used to love Jamal Mashburn. Like Mashburn, you can't tell me nothing about Jamal Mashburn, right? One old head I used to love was Buck Williams.
Oh, Buck.
Yeah. That was, and I reminded myself that because I saw a highlight with him, and I used to love Buck Williams. The reason why I used to love Buck Williams was because he was like the old Knicks where he just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He go get 14 and 11 every game. It didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Against Barkley, against whoever he would, Karl Malone, didn't matter. He would get it. But I liked his game because he just played extra hard. And and I was always a fan of Scottie Pippen's game. I never liked him because I thought he was really soft.
Mm-hmm.
But his game, just to be so tall with a handle and just, you know what I'm saying? He had the total package. So those are some of the guys that, I really enjoyed watching when I did watch.
Solid.
I could tell you more about NFL players than I can about basketball players back then, though. That's the funny part.
Oh, wow.
I was caught up. I knew I was going to the NFL. You couldn't tell me that.
So you kept it honest with us, and you one of the first interviews that really did that right off top in terms of saying you was out there and doing your thing, and most kids are. So you matriculated, you did your thing, you prospered, and then the selection came. You selected St. John's. A lot of guys fall victim of staying in the neighborhood, staying around the way. Why did you select that? Who else was looking at you? And when it came down to make a decision, what happened?
So it was easy. So let me tell you.
Go
ahead. So now I know Mr. Lorch is dead and all AAU is pretty much dead. I can't get in trouble, but someone just asked me this in another email because they asked similar question in regards to who was recruiting me. So who was recruiting me was Cincinnati, UNLV, USC, mostly all of the Big East, right?
Okay.
And that's just for one summer of basketball. Here was the problem. Back then, you was limited to 5 official trip visits.
Yep.
And I didn't qualify. Okay. I was never qualified to go on any trips. So I took 9 unofficial visits. The longest is with I almost signed with UNLV because my unofficial there was for 4 days. That shit was like one of the wildest 4 days in my life. And shout out to Kevin Simmons and to Shaka Ship and those the guys that was there. And I forgot his name off the top, but that was a wild trip. And I almost went to UNLV. But at the end of the day, I was a little bit of a stubborn Brooklyn kid. And St. John's was 25 minutes on a bad day from my crib. And just having my friends in the community there and the old heads, good or bad, legal or illegal, I was just like, I'm not leaving. Because ended up coming home anyway when there's a break and shit instead of focusing on my schoolwork, which I was very focused on back then because I remember when I got in trouble, the judge told me straight in my face, she said, the expectations for you are low. I look forward to trying you again. I never forgot that. So I went to college. I graduated in 3 years, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, now you're still in New York, but you're right outside, as you said, only about 25 minutes away on a bad day. And you're out in St. John's, and your freshman year, you're joined by 2 other newcomers in Ed Brown and Mike Meningfield, who essentially play the same positions as yourself. I'm interested, what were the practices like? Because I'm sure you were jockeying for position, and were you concerned about your playing time at all?
You know what's funny? That's a great question. I was oblivious to all of that because I expected that. I didn't really understand that a school recruit, because I signed late too with St. John. A school recruiting you and then recruiting people at your position was like kind of an issue with many, even now, right, when I advise these kids. But the funny part was that I went there just looking to compete against Charles Midland. You know what I'm saying? He was there. He was the mainstay. I respected his game because I worked out with him the summer before. And it's ironic because me and Ed Brown became so tight, even up until this day, even after he transferred. And Mike, and I'm the godfather of Mike Minifield kids. So even though we were competing for that one position or that one time, we ended up being like super close off the court. And I think the competition brought that out of us because, you know, people wanted minutes, you know what I'm saying? But again, it never affected me. Like I was like, I gotta play I'm here to play. Even if I don't play, I'm here to have a good time and get busy. Because I wasn't thinking like playing professional NBA overseas, none of that. That was later on in the run.
Okay. So you step on the scene, Big East is jumping. It's like it's the Renaissance. Like, Mr. Grant, you know what time it is. You come on the scene 7-7 as a freshman, and we talking about the height of the UConns, the Villanovas, the Syracuses, all that's jumping on. Let's add Georgetown. So what team was doing it to you, and you thought it was like, wow, they stood out to you? And then we talk about you with the likes of Kerry Kittles, AI, John Wallace, Ray, and like, so take us through that, man. What's jumping in your mind? What's going on?
It was a movie. I mean, listen, we had the wonder kids on my team, which was Felipe and Zindan, but those other movies, those other 11 to 12 movies that we had to deal with, especially for me, because once you got to St. John's, you know, the expectations was us to be so good right away. And I was a very, very small piece of the puzzle. Not to mention, my first year I got there, I didn't become eligible until a week before the season. Wow. NCAA clearinghouse made me take the SAT 5 times. And the last time I went to St. John's as a regular student, I was paying for school until I passed the final SAT because my grade point average was so low. Back then it was a shifting scale. My grade point average is so low, they kept saying you lying. And I took the SAT twice with the NCAA representative sitting next to me. And the last time that I passed every time, but they kept still questioning. And the last time it was an NCAA representative and my attorney sitting in the room with me to validate that I took the test. So then, I mean, I got to St. John's. I became eligible 10 days before the season starts. So I didn't even have a preseason. I couldn't practice with the team. And immediately I saw how crazy and competitive the Big East was. I mean, Ray Allen, you know what I'm saying? Deron Sheffer at that time. Was Deron? Yeah, Deron Sheffer was there. Then they had the crazy team. Then you had Villanova with Jason Lawson, Kerry Kittle, the point guard from Philly. I forgot son's name. Like, they had all these teams. Then you flew out to Miami. You had Kevin Norris. Yes. You know what I'm saying? You had it was just, listen, it was nonstop competition.
Very competitive.
It was a headache every day looking at scouting reports.
Notre Dame had Pat Garrity, Austin Crozier, and Providence.
Right, man. Providence.
It was deep.
Providence had the whole Brooklyn on the team, and I almost went to Providence. Derek Brown, 530, Jamel Thomas, Shamgar, the other Brown, like, you know what I'm saying? Ruben Garcia, steroid up Ruben Garcia, muscle head, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it was different, and it was a learning experience. Then you had Pittsburgh with Jerry McCullough and Jaime, I forgot his name, and you know what I'm saying? So every day it was crazy. But my first coach, my first coach, which is
Coach Mahoney.
Brian Mahoney.
Coach Mahoney.
Once I got in shape, he let me do whatever I want. He's like, yo, we so happy that you came in here ready to be who you are. Because we had different kind of personalities because it was Philippe. And I kind of brought everybody together because it didn't matter to me. Again, I wasn't caught up in the hype. Like, it didn't matter. You know what I mean?
I'm glad that you brought that up because you mentioned, you know, it was crazy with all the competition with you having to look at scouting reports all the time. And, you know, I know for your first couple years at St. John's, you went through 3 coaching changes.
Yeah.
Freshman year, sophomore and junior year, you had the same coach in your senior year. So while each
research.
Coach, I gotta do what I gotta do.
I get busy. Yeah.
So which coaching scheme would you say facilitated your individual game the most?
Okay, so here's the breakdown, right? So with Mahoney, Mahoney made me believe even more that I'm supposed to be a player in the Big East. I did not get along with Fran Fraschilla from the day he got on campus. So my second and third year was a wrap just because off of the relationship. You know what I'm saying? And here's why the relationship was so bad. I found out that Manhattan recruited me, and it's crazy. He sent me a long text message, maybe 3 years ago. We talking about almost 20 years later, apologizing for the whole thing because he's one of them clowns that's after the fact was like, damn, look how many championships Ty won overseas. Look at it. Anyway, he was recruiting me for Manhattan, and I told my AAU coach at the time, I'm like, yo, I don't know who the coach is, and I'm not going to school in Manhattan thinking that Manhattan is in New York City and not further upstate above the Bronx. That's how clueless I was. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, if you got Providence, Pete Gillen knocking on your phone, I don't need to speak to no Fran Fraschilla. You know what I'm saying? And then, So when he got there, he was acting salty, and I didn't really care. I mean, again, it hurt my career in a sense. But it also got me prepared because one thing I would give him credit for is the good thing about it. This dude made basketball so easy in regards to his preparation, how he prepared you to play games, how he taught any kind of drill you need. Nothing surprised me going forward after dealing with Fran Fraschilla. So I would give him his credit for that part of the basketball. You know what I'm saying? We taught anything. He'd sit me down. I wasn't playing the game. I'd sit down. But I knew in practice, I know everything about basketball. You know what I'm saying? I was still taking in the mental toughness. So when Mike Jarvis got there, after the first scrimmage, here's the funny part with Mike Jarvis. They fired Fran, they hired Mike Jarvis. And in New York State, they had something called the Empire Games. So it was a couple of us that played. It was me, Eric Barkley, because it was Eric's first year. And we played in this state tournament. You know what I'm saying? It was just Syracuse had players playing in it, 4 of their players, whatever. And that was the first time Mike Jarvis saw me playing that tournament. Mike Jarvis called a team meeting, and we're talking about July because we was all in summer school. He called a team meeting and was like, I don't know what happened. He said this in front of everybody. He said, I don't know what happened the 2 years before I got here, but everyone, he introduced me as a captain without even telling me. He's like, Ty go be the captain. Ty's go start. Ty's go play 35 minutes a game. After one tournament, he saw me play 4 games. I got the MVP and all that, and he was like, "Yo, why you ain't play at St. John?" So I told him, and also the assistant coach told him, and then it became obvious. You know what I'm saying? So Jarvis came in and did what he had to do with the crazy talent we had, as well as the a lot of personalities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We had to deal with the personality. And then but at the end of the day, like I always say, with that team, if I wasn't injured, we'd have probably won it all. You know what I'm saying? If I didn't get hurt, we'd have probably won it all. Not only that, and I can honestly say that, but what was so good about that team was that we competed every day. We ended up having 9 guys that played professional basketball from that team.
Hey, Mr. Grant, listen, y'all was deeper than the Dr. Phil conversation. Y'all rosters back then at that time was crazy, given the validity of the Wild Wild West of the Big East, man. But let me take you back to one interesting point. Timeline is like this: it's January the 27th, 1996. It's 2 p.m. on CBS, right? Little young fella come into the game about to start tip off. He said, "Oh, my man Reek not starting this game. Watch me about to light y'all up for 40." Now that's a hood myth. Is that a true story?
I'll tell you the story.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'll tell you the story.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you said 1996. Yeah, because that was
96, January 27th, 2 p.m. in the Garden. Talk to me. Let's do it.
So before the game, what happened was I knew Tariq and Iverson had a
and shout out my man Tariq, because that's my guy from FS Sports. We get down. That's my man.
Yeah. I knew they had a relationship, but I didn't know how deep it was, and I didn't care, right? But here's the thing, right? I started that game, right? And I was talking crazy to Jerome Williams.
Junkyard Dog.
Right? Yeah, because he said something to me and I misunderstood him. So I'm like, dude, I don't even know you. Like, what are you talking about? You probably won't. I won't even have you leave the garden. And then, he was religious back then. So he was like, nah, you know what I'm saying, brother? I didn't mean it like that. And I took it wrong. And then we was talking by the scorer's table. Starting five came out. They did the national anthem. Iverson walked straight to my bench because I'm standing on the side waiting for the jump ball. And he said, Reek, what's up? They got this bum ass nigga starting over you? Oh, I'm about to give y'all 40. Straight like that. He said it in the angle. He's on the court. Reek is like the fourth person on the bench. So everybody had to hear it from the head coach all the way down because they all looked at Reek. And me being an immature young boy, I'm laughing before the jump ball. I'm like, yo, he just said that. You know what I'm saying? And the funny part, the first play, he caught a alley-oop.
Yep.
And look right at the bench, talking about I told you. And he probably had about 35 or some crazy
he ended up with 39 in the L, though. People don't even realize he ended up with 39 in the L, and he was most talked about, even though y'all came out, gave him the work, but all they talked about was what he did.
But that story is true. I was true? There. Okay. It wasn't made up. I was we joke about it a little bit now, but I could joke with it with Reek because he went off the big and better stuff. But that's a true story. That was some funny shit.
No folklore is there.
Yeah, but nobody talked more shit than Victor Page, even though he became that's a whole nother conversation. But he was reckless.
Yeah.
I hear you. So moving forward now, we're in your senior year, 98. Your team is stacked with the likes
99.
98, 99.
Yeah.
Cool. Zendon Hamilton, LeVar Postel, two other New York ballers, Felipe Lopez and Ron Artest, along with yourself. And that team makes it to the NCAA tournament, but it's most remembered for an epic game against Syracuse in the Big East tournament. You played well, recorded 15 points, 14 rebounds, did your thing. The team fell short in overtime. Brian Blackwell. Shout out to my Cuse, by the way. I'm sorry about that. But
it's all love.
What it is.
It's all love.
Share your thoughts on that game, sir.
Yo, thank you for this crazy blast from the past. You know what's so crazy? I'm gonna tell you one thing I remember about that game. Every game, anywhere I saw Ryan Blackwell after that game, I bust his ass just because of that game. All professional. If I play against him in any professional league, pick up basketball, I bust his ass because I never forget that game when he hit that shot. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Ryan Blackwell, by the way.
Yeah, great dude, great person.
Yes,
and
sir.
The funny part about that time was that what I can remember about the game is that it was a very, very intense, hard-fought game, and
back and forth.
And I remember that when something happened and I was guarding Eton Thomas for a short time, and Eton Thomas looked at me. He's like, "Yo, I ain't never know you were strong like that." And I said, "Yo, I don't even lift weights. I just do pull-ups and push-ups." He's like, "Okay." And that was our conversation. Yeah, because he thought he was super strong. And I'm like, dude, you're not even strong like that. But that was a great game. And that was what's his name? The left-hander was on the team back then.
You talking about Q's team?
Yeah, the 3-man.
We had Jason Hart. We had
the one
Ryan
that just
Blackwell.
disappeared. Shit, what's his name?
Jason Sapola was earlier on, but
not him. I remember that. He older. Todd Bergen.
Todd Bergen, yes.
Todd Bergen. Yeah. With that crazy game he had.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of them. That was one of them games that was damn. You're gonna make me look that. That was one of them real good games.
Yeah.
Well,
now your team is looking different, including your coaching change. And although there's lots of talent lost after that, you got Eric Barkley come in, Bootsy Thornton comes aboard, and St. John makes a deep run in the NCAAs and the Big East tournaments the following year. How were you able to navigate through player and personnel changes and still have a great season, both individually and as a team?
It's all about, and I stand by this to this day, it's all about being honest and communicating. You know what I'm saying? In basketball, people make it too complicated dealing with the star, quote unquote star, and the regular player. It's the same thing because we all want the same thing out of all of it, right? If you're on a college level, you want to make it to the next level. So you got to do something as a team. And dealing with the hype that came with Felipe my first year, then continuing when Ron got there, it's apples and oranges. Felipe shit was just madness. You know what I mean? It wasn't nothing compared to Felipe. Nothing.
Right, not at that time.
Right. And then with Eric Barkley, I grew up with Eric Barkley. It's funny, me and Eric Barkley is the same age, but he was 2 years younger than me. And Eric is from the other side of Brooklyn, but Eric played up for AAU. So Eric never took a recruiting trip to St. John's because he was always there with me. Right. So it wasn't like it was a big secret that he was coming to St. John's. We just didn't want him. I just told him I don't want you to go to North Carolina. So Eric was there. So and then Bootsy was just so laid back. And once you saw Bootsy play pickup ball, you're like, okay, we know he gonna get 20 when he wants. So he got to come into play. And you know what it was a bunch of inner city kids that had a goal. And Mike Jarvis set it up where that he allowed the competition to get so far that we actually had fights, and we used to call it a 2-minute fight. Like we'd make a circle. If I got beef with you, if I got beef with you, Kev, he'll just call a quick timeout. We circle and do a fight. You know, he was dealing with it right there rather than the shit. You know what I'm saying? Carry over into the next practice and the next game. That's why we always looked like we was just one on the court. You know what I mean? And Ron, the Ron Artest mini in the outside, he couldn't pull that off at St. John's because he'd get punched in his mouth. Like you got all these kids. You from Queensbridge, right? He from Brownsville houses. What you talking about? That fake crazy shit don't work. So we didn't. That madness that y'all see when he became professional was what it was. Like that wasn't happening at St. John. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So it was fun. Again, the personalities I had to deal with. But it wasn't that much of an issue. It was just fun stuff, man. Young boy shit, man.
Hey, Mr. Grant, let me ask you this question. Who was the one opponent? We'll end off with all these Big East questions and talk about some other stuff about your career and stuff. But one more. Who was that cat that just kind of like flew under the radar? Was one of them cats that was like, yo, he stood out in your mind like, you didn't think he was such a big deal, but when you got up against him, he wasn't no big name like AI or Ray and all that. But who was that one cat that really gave y'all work that was just solid?
I'm going to tell you now. So let me start from the top. Kerry Kittles, to me, was the hardest everything all across the board. Okay. Kerry Kittles was just a complete – you knew what you was getting out of AI. He was going to get his numbers, but it was a chance you could beat him. Kerry Kittles beat you every way. Rebound, passing. Alvin Williams.
Alvin, who went on to play on – wasn't he at Nova? He was at Nova, wasn't he?
He was at Nova. Alvin, to answer your question, Alvin Williams, to me, with that crazy walk, Alvin Williams was like one of the most underrated monsters. You couldn't do nothing with Alvin. And he was like 6'5", 6'6". You know what I'm saying? Alvin Williams was wicked. You know what I mean? And the funny part was I remember John Celestine going to Villanova, and he was getting a lot of pub. And I remember when we played him, and me and John Celestine the same grade. And I remember I was like, okay, John was good, but he wasn't that good. And I remember after the game, I was like, yo, why y'all ain't speak about this Alvin Williams guy that just bust Felipe ass? Like, how y'all totally forgot about Son? That shit was crazy. Alvin Williams. So Alvin Williams, B.
Oh, man. Go ahead, Kev. I got to take it on that.
It's going to take me a second to get over that one.
Word. But, Alvin Williams is the truth, man.
I believe that. Yeah. So we know you from New York. New York is a melting pot. Brooklyn in particular. So naturally you're exposed to a lot of cultures, and you played with some foreign players in college, and you spent a large majority of your professional career overseas. Do you think that experience with playing and knowing a lot of different cultures helped with the transition easier overseas to play? No.
Here's why. Here's why, right? Living in mini Caribbean, aka Brooklyn, right? What was a culture shock was American culture. You know what I'm saying? I didn't listen to rap. I didn't listen to none of that. Wow. You know what I'm saying? That was like the culture shock to listen to rap every day on AU trips. And I'm like, yo, son, why you ain't playing that reggae? Why you ain't playing that calypso? Like, that was a culture shock for me, being in New York, but yet not living that American experience.
Okay.
The transition to overseas was very, very difficult, like my first 4 or 5 months, because I was an ignorant American. You know what I'm saying? My first year overseas, I was in Italy. And the thing about that was that I felt like I was supposed to be in the NBA. Due to my injuries and all the bullshit when I was in Charlotte, you know what I'm saying? I spent the whole year in Charlotte on injured reserve due to injuries that I had since I was in college. You know what I mean? And being there and seeing the talent, and then before the season started, going from a undrafted free agent to a partial guarantee to a full guarantee when they cut Derek Hood. Like, I was like, okay, this is the process. I just got to compete and play hard. So I was very excited about that. Then I got hurt and I'm out for 6 months again. But taking that overseas, all of that stress and that anger, that was more the hard part. Learning the culture was also very difficult because what I thought was pizza, what I thought was pasta wasn't really pizza or pasta. And just learning, listen to people speak to you in a different language, listen to the referee speak to you in a different language. You like, Duke, like, get the fuck out of my face. Like, what are y'all talking about? You know what I mean? And that was hard. And then you got the out of control, the completely out of control fans, which people tend to forget when they talk about top level European basketball. The fans are totally out of control. I'm talking about your fans and opposing team fans. It's like a fight before the game. It's a fight during the game. They lighting matches and candles and all type of blowing up M80s on the court. Like, it's crazy. So all that was like going. But again, what motivated me was the cash and just the fact that my job was playing basketball.
To you, that's not really a job. I get it.
Right.
So with that being said, and you did mention you were ignorant American. You were worried about that culture, and you thought you knew what pizza was. Every New Yorker thinks we know what pizza is. I get that as a Brooklynite as well. So you get over there, the culture's shocked. You don't have a lot of friends over there. You don't really know too many people. So the question is, did you keep in contact with a lot of your friends from playing ball, and do you still keep in contact with them anywhere from high school all the way up through your professional career?
So good question. So I recently on Facebook finally I posted something in regards to that because I never really posted anything about basketball. And from the time I posted, that's probably like 3 weeks ago, I posted a pic of me playing ball, some shit I did.
Is that the one with the headband on?
I've received so many friends sending me pictures of when I played with them from across over the world, Italy, Spain, and Greece, particularly. And honestly, I've been looking at the pictures, just reminiscing, because my kids don't even know me as a basketball player. They just know daddy.
He's just
always on his laptop. You know what I'm saying? I'm daddy. Who you fired today? Like stuff like that with my kids. But what this has done, what that post has done has brought me back to those days of love, the love I had for playing basketball.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Again, my story didn't involve me. I'm going to NBA. You know what I'm saying? Dr. J, Michael Jordan, and all that. It wasn't about that. But the fact that I was making this bread every month, practicing 3 hours, 4 hours a day, and that's all I did. Like, I'm a realist. I went over there ignorant, but I realized when I got the opportunity, I wasn't going to mess it up. And plus, playing overseas back in those days, remember, I'm a kind of an old head. It was only 2 Americans per team. It wasn't like now. So when you're playing in the EuroLeague, it's you and another American against the other American and 2 other Americans. It wasn't like now when you got these dudes who get, and nothing against that, but it wasn't like now when dudes are getting passports or the leagues are allowing 4 or 5 Americans. This was a complete culture shock for me. You know what I'm saying? But the experiences and all that stuff, again, I've been reminded about it recently, and I'm gonna start probably posting more about basketball per se. On my social medias and all that, just to continue some of those conversations that I had with old friends, like you're asking about, all families, and because again, the fanatics over there, you play for Milan, you friends with the baker, the dude who made the pizza, who, you know what I'm saying,
the baker and the candlestick maker.
Right, exactly. All of them want to hug you and embrace you and whatnot, and these people just been inboxing me. And hey, Ty, how you been? And I'm just enjoying it, especially now that we can't really run the streets like we used
to. What's up?
Yeah.
So,
TJ, you?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask this question for you. Growing up in New York, Mr. Grant, I'm gonna be honest with you, the Mecca is what it is. There's all types of places to play. Soul in the Hole, Ruck, Kingdom, all that goes on here and there. Gauchos, let's name the gambit of it. Where was that one spot that stuck out to you, and what was a memorable game back in the day? Or maybe there's two of them that you just really stuck out growing up as a young fella, and it just, kind of carried over. And one of them things where you could tell your grandkids about the story.
So couple of stories. So first big tournament I ever played was out in Coney Island, 23rd Street. It had Stefan, who's the golden child, but they had all them Coney Island rock stars. Coney Island keep basketball players, those that made it, those that did not, but those in high school that wasn't eligible. Those games are crazy, and not just the games itself, but the atmosphere. I mean, you had parks with people on the gates, and this is my introduction. So this is off the rip. And then going, so my first tournament, big tournament I ever played, which is in Coney Island, I wasn't gonna go, but I told you the reason why I had to go, because I had to get this money from the coach. So me and my cousin stole a car and drove out there, and it was funny because we almost got locked up, and we happened to get away, and I got to the game and we played, left the car there, and I got my money, took a taxi back across town to the other side of Brooklyn. But the thing, the matters behind was that I fell in love with the atmosphere. I fell in love with the craziness. You know what I'm saying? Even despite the ignorant stuff that comes with, our inner city tournaments, like I fell in love with that shit. Like you had, the ballers out there, then you had the hoopers out there, then you had the ladies, then you had the hood boogers, then you had like the whole shit. Then you had food. Then you had the drinks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm taking that all in and like, yo, this is what I got to do to play basketball. You know what I'm saying? This dude about to give me $140, $145, and I'm out here having a ball. And we stayed, like I played the game. I remember playing the game, and I remember staying out there probably up until like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm not from Coney Island, so if you know how Coney Island is, they think they got beef with everybody. They don't even think they from Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? Where you from? Brooklyn? Nah, so I'm from Coney Island. You know what I mean? So that experience was the first that was crazy. My second experience that was crazy as a youngster was playing my first game in Soul in the Hole.
Soul in the Hole.
And I'm from 94th and Clarkson, so I'm from like East Flatbush. And growing up in that neighborhood, I'm like, even now, like I feel bulletproof. Like I've seen it all. I'm from the home where all the extorters was. Everybody claimed their drug kingpin. Everybody claimed their booster. I'm from the one that robbed them. That's where I'm from. That's the neighborhood I'm from. And I remember I went to Soul in the Hole, and I always went to the games with my cousin and a girl. And I remember somebody touched this girl's ass, the girl that came with his ass. And my cousin was about to light up the park. He came on the middle of the park. And he looked at me and he said, Ty, this really what you want? And I said, yeah. And he walked off. Long story short, after that game, me and Charles Jones became best friends.
So with that being said, now you gave us some great stories right there. You had the situation where you stole a car on the way to the game, and now you had a potential situation that literally both of them could have changed your whole life around, the trajectory of everything that took place.
Absolutely.
But the fact that it didn't happen, you went on to play ball to more present time when we're talking, you're the founder of Team First. Share with us, to the viewers and everything, the significance of the program as well as any new developments.
Well, the significance of the program is that the idea of starting something for youths, where that not only I can provide services, but I can also employ 150 people to help the youth, was an idea that came from when I was younger, meaning that I played a lot of basketball in the community centers or the schools where I had to just sign in. We all probably did. You go sign in and then you go play 2-3 hours of basketball and then probably had to do homework or something just so you could play basketball. Nonetheless, I never understood that there was a business behind that. And once I understood that, after spending a whole bunch of my own money doing stuff upon my when I retired, I learned that not only was this my passion, but opportunities can come from playing basketball or playing sports that for some of these kids might never ever come again, because I could have went the other way. You know what I mean? And providing all these enrichment activities, going to colleges, speaking to professionals like yourself, engaging with people that look like you and that have real jobs, that that alone brings so much into a kid's mind instead of thinking that they gotta twerk or they gotta sell drugs to do good. You know what I mean? And also this whole gang culture that I despise. I have to my job, my company's job is to show kids that you don't have to be in a gang to be liked. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Absolutely.
Your success goes further than that. Until you can put on your resume that you was in a gang, or if you wear a red or blue and you come to my office for a job and I give you the job, don't be in a gang because you're not going to get a job. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just all about exposing our kids to all the to their potential and opportunity out there. And in that way of thinking, I've developed so many ideas for the program. Instead of being a sports-based program, it's an enrichment program. You know what I mean? We do have sports league. I sponsor a shitload of basketball team because that's what I did growing up. But I hired someone to bring Team First to another level, which brought the academic and the enrichment into the program to make that the mainstay of the program. So Team First, we just do a whole bunch of stuff. I just finished a whole initiative, bridging the digital divide initiative, where I bought 200 laptops for kids in my school kids in my program across South Bronx, for them and their families to keep them, involved with everything that's going on in the world. Because sometimes, again, we're having a digital conversation. I had a parent ask me the other day, what's the internet? They had a laptop. She had a laptop. We gave her kid a laptop. She's like, okay, thank you for the laptop. So she texted my executive director and was like, we know we have to do schoolwork on this, but what else can we do? So she just politely said, just use the internet. The lady texts back, what is the internet? So this is our realities within a lot of these inner cities. And, I think people like myself need to tackle this if we're going to be in this business, because I'm in the business of helping. You know what I mean? I'm in the business, and I just try to expose that to as many people as they can so they can get involved and help these kids, because the world is cold, as you can see. The world, we having a Zoom meeting right now, and a lot of these families don't even know how to get to Zoom.
That's right.
So we gotta figure it out. Remote learning is everything now. These people don't have technology for remote learning. So again, it's sad, but it's our reality. So either we go face it or we go sweep it under the rug, like we've been sweeping a lot of shit under the rug for the last 100 years.
Commend you for doing that, my man.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Grant, let me ask you this, and we're gonna wrap up today because we're getting close to our time, and we just want to thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
If I could take you on a journey throughout New York City and think about all the great legends that have come out of the city, years and years of historic people, man, and just icons. If I gave you an all NYC team, a 10-man roster, who would be on that roster?
Oh, man.
See, I could give you a starting 5, but that's just so unfair. So I'm going to give you a 10-man roster. You can use your fingers, you count them all. Give me a 10-man roster, New York City all time.
I could give you 10, but it might be a little biased. So my number one is, and this is all from my eyes, right?
Okay, that's
my number one is Lloyd Daniels.
Okay.
I played with Lloyd at the end of his career. He's still the baddest man.
The OG Lloyd Daniels. Right. Yeah.
Lloyd Daniels. I'm going to add Stephon Marbury up. This is in no particular order, except for Lloyd. For me, is number one. Stephon Marbury. Malik Silly.
Rest in peace.
Junie Sanders. Okay. That's one of my playground legends. Lamont Jones. So that's 5. Seth Marshall up north. I'm showing my age now. Shit, that's 6. Damn, you're killing me right now.
You got 4 more.
Shit.
Now remember, you the coach, so it's your roster.
Damn, you're killing me. 4 more. Who I can plug with that 4? I know I'm missing some people. Rod Strickland. I'm bugging. I am bugging.
I was just wondering if he was going to make the list.
He should have been top 5. Sorry, my fault.
There's a couple Queens guards. I'm like, whoo.
Okay, Rod Strickland. Skip to Malou. Always like
Ready?
Skip.
All right, ready?
Even when he toned down in the NBA, but that's another conversation. Skip goes, so that you leave me with 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Conrad McCray, R.I.P.
Conrad McCray.
Conrad, yeah.
And shit, I'm gonna go with R.I.P. Anthony Mason.
Mace.
I spent a year with him in Charlotte. We didn't even get along, and we became friends when I came back from my second year overseas. That's the crazy part. We both from New York. We argued every day in Charlotte. Like, son, I'm from Brooklyn. You from Queens. Don't play with me, son.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's my 10 again right now. You know, shout out to the young boys. A lot of the young boys is dope too. But I'm telling you, from what I saw, what I experienced from my eyes, who was in the gym working out with us, who was killing us, and yeah, that's my 5. I mean, that's my 10, man.
Well, listen, let's leave on this note. Tell us some more information, how people can reach out. They want to help support Team First. How can they reach y'all, contact y'all? Go ahead, take that on. Go ahead.
Team First, www.teamfirst.com. Instagram, the official Team First. Facebook, Team First Inc. We have a company number or email contact at teamfirst.com. Company number 718-593-2333. And, you know, you can reach out to us. You can reach out to me. I usually read all the emails, especially now I got all this time. But, you know, just follow our journey because we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop helping these kids. We're not going to stop adding, you know, what we bring to the table to help our community and the kids. And, you know, I'm actually a grassroots program led by someone from the community. All right. Always remember that when you bring these stuff to the table, I'm a grassroots program that's run and owned by someone from the community.
Absolutely. Well,
that's what makes us so proud.
We want to thank you, Mr. Grant, so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you, fellas.
Man, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for all the gems and the real commentary. We appreciate it, man. We so appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a great episode of The Stoop. Shout out to my guy, Kev P. Thank y'all so much. Mr. Grant, our special guest. Y'all take care.
Thank you.